Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I'm sharing something different with you guys, a new project that I've been wanting to start for a while and now seems like the perfect time because I have lots of things to fill it with. So I had picked up one of these note to self binders just to have an extra on hand when I decided to do a project. And this is the pink one with the scallop. There's a few different options in the Felicity Jane shop, so everything will be linked down below for you guys. I am going to be using all Felicity Jane products today, mostly from the new Katherine kit this month. And I decided to use this binder. It is an A5 binder and use it for like a faith binder. So I want to put daily prayers. I really want to challenge myself to write down daily prayers. I also want to be able to put in sermon notes, not just Sunday notes, but I listen to a lot of different podcasts and sermons and things like that. And so I want a place where I can stick everything. I have tried this in the past with traveler's notebooks and A5 notebooks and things like that. But it just didn't work out. And I really like that I have the option to move things around, remove things, replace things, since it is a binder style. So I'm going to be creating a prayer page in here today. And so I have gone ahead and collected a few different things and already prepped a few things ahead of time. I have some papers that I cut down to 8¼ tall by 5¾ wide, and that will fit in this binder. And so I picked out a couple of the pattern papers from the Katherine Collection. And then I have some of the Essentials white cardstock that I cut down to be an inch smaller height and width wise than the paper. And I'm going to actually run this through my typewriter and type out my prayer. But I have one of the 3x4 cards I'm going to use behind my photo. I have one of the labels, and this is actually from, I think, Grace or Hope a couple months ago, but you can see the pattern perfectly matches the patterns in Katherine this month, so I'm going to use that. Already gone ahead and made my little title out of the puppy stickers, picked out some die cuts, and then I have this photo here. This is a photo that I took tonight on my daily walks that I'm doing, and I have been doing those walks with my kiddos, but the last week or so I've been doing them by myself, and I just pray the whole time I'm walking. And then sometimes I'll be listening to a sermon or a podcast, but I really just use this time to just connect with God and pray and cry and do all those messy things out there on my walks. And so this was shot tonight. And then I took one of the digital stamps from the Jill collection. This is a great way to utilize the digital collections. If you didn't know that they have digital collections over at Felicity Jane, they do have some of their past kits in the digital little tab over in the shop. And so I just drug the Jill stamp over into Photoshop and laid it over the photo before I printed it. If you have a stamp set, you very well could stamp on here. I just have such poor results trying to stamp on photo paper. I have not perfected that yet. And you can stamp on a separate piece of cardstock and then attach it or something like that. But I wanted it in the photo. And since I had that digital file on hand, I just drug it in. And then the nice thing is you can kind of scale it however you want on the photo. So I just laid that over there, and it says start and end each day with a grateful heart, which I thought was perfect for a prayer spread. So going forward, it won't always be a photo and prayer. It might just be 2 pages of prayer. It might not be a photo. It might be a photo of somebody that I am praying for specifically. I just want this to kind of just be a place to dump all of my faith related everything. Study notes, prayers, you got it, kind of get where I'm going. So that is what we're going to be creating today. So let me go ahead and put you guys on fast forward and we will put this layout together. Okay, so I'm going to begin by punching my holes. That way I make sure I don't accidentally put anything where the holes are going to go. So I'm just using my We Are Memory Keepers Planner punch board to punch the holes, and I just kind of eyeballed them with the rings in the binder to figure out where to put the little punches. And then I figured out that mint colored paper, I actually punched the holes upside down. It's fine for this side of the paper, but the back side of the paper is upside down. So I thought about doing the layout in that, mint on the right, floral on the left, so that way I could use the back side of that mint paper, but that's not how I had planned this. So I'm just going to have to cover the back side of this page when I do the cover entry for this binder, if that makes sense. But it doesn't pertain to this layout. It's just the back side of that paper. I'll have to deal with at a later time. So I'm going to start by building up some layers behind my photo here. The photo was printed 3x4, and then I gave it a little bit of a white border when I trimmed it out from the photo paper. And I'm just tearing apart some tissue paper to layer behind the photo. I usually like things straight and even, and I don't know, kind of get OCD, but I'm going to try to be messy and imperfect in this binder. And so I'm just going to tear things. I'm going to let things be wonky. I'm going to let things be askew and not perfect. I do pull out my ruler and line some things up, but I'm hoping to get a little bit more free in this binder as I go. That way I'm not spending a ton of time on the artwork part. It's going to be more about the notes and the prayers and things like that. But you know, the scrapbook girl comes out and I got to have things a certain way. So I've got that journaling card, and then that white polka dot card is actually a 3x5 card that I had in my stash. And so I just wanted to add some additional layers. Learn from me, though many of you probably already know this, don't use a tape runner on tissue paper. Put the tape on the paper and then attach the tissue paper or it tears. And then here you'll see I'm fussing with things, moving things. I'm hoping as this project goes along, I'm less worried about things like that, the spacing and stuff, but you know, it's a habit I gotta break. So I am gonna let things kind of poke out. I decided to add in a little bit more of that tissue paper down at the bottom here. And because I'm working in a binder, I have room to add chunky things and texture and lots of layers. And so some of the techniques that I really love that I can't do in my Bible or do in a traveler's notebook, I can do in this binder project here, like using these Denise charms. I obviously have only used 2 of these. They are super adorable, and I try to use them in every project that I can, but because they're so thick, it was a little bit tricky for me to use them. So I'm going to just create a little bow with some embroidery floss and then just stick that at the top of the photo there. I chose the floral one just to bring a little bit of the floral over from the floral paper. It's not the same floral print, but the colors are very similar, and it's a small little embellishment, so I'm not worried about the florals being different. So here I'm pulling out my ruler to make sure that my photo is straight. And since this quote says, start and end each day with a grateful heart, I wanted to add a few hearts. So that peach colored heart is a die cut from the Katherine kit. And then here I've pulled out some of the Bailey epoxy hearts. I love these epoxy hearts. I think those might be Lindsey on the right hand side, the larger ones. I can't remember. I end up not using the larger ones. I only used the smaller Bailey ones. So now we can move on and start working on the prayer side here. I love this stamp set from the Katherine kit. It is a really versatile stamp set. So I pulled out one of the stamps. I've already got some of the alpha stickers laid out, and I'm just trying to figure out my spacing before I take this over to my sewing machine, or not my sewing machine, my typewriter. So I'm going to add a branding strip from one of the papers underneath that title at the top there and wrap that around, and then I'll take this over and run it through my typewriter before I continue adding embellishment. I just wanted to give myself some borders for where I wanted my typing to start and end. So there's my prayer. If you're wondering what I'm praying about, you can see close-up photos over on the Felicity Jane blog. I won't always share my prayers because obviously those can get kind of personal, but this wasn't anything too personal. I've just been praying lots over the world and over, you know, my sisters in Christ that are hurting right now. It's just a tough time, so I had a lot to pray about. So I went ahead and stuck out some of these alpha stickers on some wax paper and spelled out the word prayer. And then that way I could move it around and figure out where I want it before I stick it down, since it was on that wax paper. And then this stamp from the stamp set actually says currently, but I just inked up so that it would say current, so current prayer. And then I'm going to add a few more of those epoxy hearts to kind of fill out, so it's not just this little lonely word current hanging up there. It looked a little bit odd just because that stamp was a little bit on the small side compared to the alpha stickers that I had used. And then towards the bottom here, I had to use these new labels. They are going to be a part of the Essentials line. So I'm taking one of those stamps from the Katherine set once again for the day of the week. And then for the date, I usually use my date stamp, but I decided for this one I'm going to pull out this today stamp. This is a planner stamp set from Felicity Jane, and I'm going to use the numbers for the date, and then I'm just going to go in with a pen and add some little hearts in between the month, day, and year. Just change it up a little bit and fill out that label. These labels are awesome. All kinds of different shapes with different, dot, line, grid, small, big. They're just awesome. So I do want to layer something behind that since I have kind of a chunk of blank space in that bottom right hand corner. So I pulled out one of the tags, and unfortunately I was all out of my yellow ribbon, my Felicity Jane ribbon, but I did have some other yellow ribbon on hand. So I'm just going to add that to the top of the tag. Again, just adding some texture and a little bit more yellow since I have just a small amount of yellow on this layout. And then I can stick that down kind of hanging off the bottom of the page there. And then I can add that label over the top. So just trying to take the time to build up little clusters. Sometimes I get in a hurry and I don't do this step, and then I feel like the layout's kind of naked. So take the time, add the layers, add, all the things to the clusters, and I think you'll be a little bit happier with your clusters. Went ahead and attached one of those little paper clips, not functional, just this at this point it's just the final little embellishment details for this tab. I've pulled out the Hope stamp set, and my little word hope like this is separated from the H in the line. Yours probably isn't because they were done differently than the design team received, but you can cut apart that stamp or just individually ink up parts of that stamp, however you want to use it, but it fit perfect in that label. And these labels are awesome. These are from the Grace collection actually, and they already have adhesive on them, so they're just super easy to stick down. And then I can pop this into my binder, and hopefully we'll be filling this up with lots of prayers, lots of sermon notes. I'm excited for this project. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Check out the description box for links to everything that I used today. Be sure to head on over to the Felicity Jane blog to check out more close-up photos. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.